Yeah, 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 yeah. They gon' feel me. Mexico picked up, headed to the drop off.
When the verdict came down, Dean wasn't shocked or upset.
11
He
minutes
remained
away.
calm. He may have expected this
That
outcome,
snow is
considering
about
his
to
past
start
hearings, but
coming,
he didn't
coming.
say anything about it. Geen smiled as he exited the courtroom and headed back to Central State Hospital.
Crazy.
Later in 1974,
Colder.
people would learn just how influential Geen had become at Central State Hospital. Former Central State Hospital patient Purvis Smith was suspected in the murder of an 86-year-old woman named Helen Lowe. Smith had allegedly bludgeoned her to death, gouged out her eyes, and attempted to peel the skin off her face. Smith told police that he had learned all about murder, mutilation, and making face masks from his friend Ed Gein at Central State Hospital.
In 1978, Central State Hospital was converted into a correctional facility, so Gein was transferred to Mendota Mental Health Institute at age 72. A spokesperson for Wisconsin State Health and Social Services said that Gein was eligible for transfer due to a stable condition and low security status. In 1984, Mendota's geriatric ward would be his final home. On July 26, 1984, Ed Gein died of cancer-induced liver and respiratory failure at age 78. He was buried in an unmarked plot in Plainfield Cemetery, right next to his beloved mother, Augusta. Gein's legacy carried on. Judge Golmar published a book about Gein in 1984, and the case's witnesses continued to receive media attention until their own respective deaths. Gein also inspired more films. The late filmmaker Tobe Hooper grew up hearing about Gein's crimes as a child, and it would inspire him to make his 1975 classic horror film, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Gein would serve as one of the main inspirations for the chilling villains Buffalo Bill and Hannibal Lecter in Thomas Harris's 1988 novel, The Silence of the Lambs, and the Oscar-winning 1991 film starring Jodie Foster. Even though Gein was not
Keep left toward I-75, then make a slide left turn on Winchester Road.
convicted of his crimes, his horrors live on.
Make a slide left turn on Winchester Road.
Thanks again for tuning in to Serial Killers.
If you want to listen to any previous episodes of Serial Killers, you can find them on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Spotify, or on our website, parcast.com, spelled Parcast.com.
If you like what you hear, please leave a 5-star review or tell us what you think on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram as @Parcast and Twitter @Parcast Network.
It seems simple, but it really helps our show.
Join us next Monday as we delve into the twisted psyche of Harold Shipman.
Have a killer week.
Serial Killers was created by Max Cutler and developed by Ron Cutler. It is a production of Cutler Media and is part of the Parcast Network. It is produced by Max and Ron Cutler, sound design by Kenny Hobbs with production assistance by Carrie Murphy. Additional production assistance by Carly Madden and Maggie Admeyer. Serial Killers is written by Mallory Cara and stars Greg Polson and Vanessa Richardson.
Who he was before he became the butcher of Plainfield, and all about his descent into grave robbing and murder. Next week, we'll finish out his story with everything that happened after his arrest. Let's dive in.
Hi, I'm Greg Polson, and this is Serial Killers, a podcast diving into the minds and motives of the world's most notorious serial killers. Today we're going to take a look at the life of Ed Gein, the butcher of Plainfield, a murderer, grave robber, and the inspiration behind many notorious movie villains. I'm here with my co-host, Vanessa Richardson. Vanessa's not a licensed psychologist or psychiatrist, but she's done a lot of research for the show.
Hi everyone. We'd like to ask a quick favor. Would you leave a 5-star review of Serial Killers on your favorite podcast directory? It seems so simple, but it really helps us out.
And don't forget to subscribe while you're there, because a new episode comes out every Monday. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at Parcast, and on Twitter at Parcast Network.
Now, let's get back to the case of Ed Gein.
This episode is brought to you by Cars.com. On Cars.com, you can shop over 2 million cars. That means over 2 million car possibilities, like making space for your family, becoming the type of person who takes spontaneous weekend camping trips, or upgrading your commute. Wherever life takes you next, you're looking at Visit confident on Cars.com. Visit Cars.com to discover your next possibility.
In a half-mile, keep right toward I-75 south using the right lane.
Now through November 29th and get $5 off your merchandise purchase with 25 or more. December 6th to December 24th. Plus, Burlington is donating 50,000 new coats to houses in need nationwide through our partnership with Delivering Good. We've been keeping you warm for over 50 years. We'll see you at our coat event. Burlington deals friends. Wow. Visit burlington.com/coats for details. What I bought? A new Wink Mini 2K Plus smart security camera. What I got? 2K proudly sharp enough to see all 15 from home when I'm hiding. Plus audio from If my bestie travels to another city, it's easy for me to send to this little fast notes and you can podcast at it. But you never skip checkout, right? Plus, I got all of this for just $49.99. Wink Mini 2K Plus. Mini camera fast perfect. Shop now at Amazon.com/Amazon.
Wisconsin mostly knew him as Weird Old Eddie, but there was way more to that innocent
Keep right toward I-75 south.
nickname than they ever thought. When he was arrested in 1957, he also confessed to the 1954 murder of Mary Hogan and admitted to making around 40 visits to graveyards to exhume buried bodies between 1947 and 1950. Initially, the court ruled that Gein was legally insane and he was institutionalized. In 1968, doctors reevaluated Gein and said he was competent enough to stand trial for the murder of Bernice Worden. Gein was found, quote, not guilty by reason of insanity. Even though his home was filled with human flesh and bones, Gein denied to District Attorney Earl Killeen upon his arrest.
In a half-mile, take right exit 108 onto Kentucky 1425 toward Manowar Boulevard using the right lane.
That he ever consumed any human parts as a meal or had sexual contact with any of the dead bodies.
Psychiatrists formally diagnosed Gein as schizophrenic, mentally incompetent, and a sexual psychopath who exhibited symptoms of acute transvestism, fetishes.
Take right exit 108 onto Kentucky 1425 toward Manowar Boulevard, then keep left.
And necrophilia.
In a quarter-mile, keep left toward Manowar Boulevard east using the left 2 lanes.
In the 1950s, sexual psychopathy wasn't a psychological term.
Keep left toward Manowar Boulevard east, then turn left on Manowar Boulevard.
Legal one that encompassed a broad range of behavior. Many people still label Gein as a necrophile and cannibal, despite his insistence that he remained a virgin until his death in 1984. Modern psychology actually has multiple classifications for necrophilia, which is defined as the sexual attraction to dead bodies, and 2 of them don't involve having intercourse.
That's very interesting. Did these classifications and understanding of necrophilia exist back when Gein was arrested in 1957?
Well, our current understanding of the condition was revealed in a study in 1989, a few years after Gein's death.
So, if Gein were alive today, would he be considered a necrophiliac?
Possibly. If Gein did not engage in sexual activity with the corpses he dug up, he could have been experiencing necrophilic fantasy, in which the desires and sexual attraction to the dead stay in the person's head. He could have also been considered a pseudo-necrophile, who only feel a transient attraction to corpses and only occasionally act on it in sadistic ways.
The crime abuse of corpse is broadly defined in the United States as corpse mutilation, sexual contact, exploitation, and even illicit storage. Gein has also stated that he often fell into a daze-like state when he made his many visits to the graveyards.
And that is also a common symptom experienced by necrophiles, Greg. Most psychologists say necrophiliacs fear rejection, so intimacy with a corpse provides them with a partner that will not say no. Some wish to be reunited with a now deceased significant other, and then there are those who do it to receive a self-esteem boost by exhibiting some kind of control over the victim.
For Gein, he was drawn to exhume the corpses of women who resembled his mother.
Dr. R. Warmington wrote the following in his evaluation of Gein's motives prior to his commitment to a mental hospital. Quote, "The motivation is elusive and uncertain.
In a quarter-mile turn right on Polo Club Boulevard.
But several factors come to mind: hostility, sex, and a desire for a substitute for his mother in the form of a replica or body that could be kept indefinitely." End quote. Dr. Martin Miller's psychological assessment of Gein at his trial
Turn right on Polo Club Boulevard.
pointed to Gein's mother, Augusta, as a significant motivator for his crimes. Dr. Miller stated, quote, "His activities were the result of a split level of consciousness. In his conscious mind, his mother was
Turn right on Market Garden Lane.
as good a woman as it was possible to be. The hatred he felt on account of her mistreatment of him was pushed onto women who reminded him, in appearance or situation, of her." End quote.
We'll need to take a look into Ed Gein's early life to examine how his particular relationship with his mother
Just ahead, turn left on Sewanee Lane.
may have triggered his crimes as an adult. Ed was born Edward Theodore Gein on August 27, 1906
Turn left on Sewanee Lane, then drop off.
in La Crosse County, Wisconsin. His father George was an often unemployed alcoholic, and his mother Augusta was a one-time grocery store owner, housewife, and devout Lutheran.
Drop off.
Young Ed had a flat, fleshy growth on his left eyelid, and he was bullied at school due to his droopy stare. His parents often argued about Ed's school situation and many other things in their tense marriage. In these frequent arguments, George threatened to have an affair and leave the family. Augusta accused George of being a failure and a drunk who was unable to fulfill his husbandly duties with her. They taunted each other and sometimes got violent. Augusta often prayed for her husband's death right in front of her sons. Augusta
And Shake, 1832 Alashiba Way, just ahead, turn left on Old House.
didn't want her sons to be tainted by what she believed to be the evils of the world, other women. Augusta was not a warm, sweet, and caring mother. She was brash, domineering, and fanatically religious. Throughout Ed and Henry's lives, she instilled in them the idea that women were, quote, painted harlots due to their short skirts and makeup. She punished her sons when they attempted to make
Turn left on Old House Road, then turn left on Roundway Down Lane.
friends at school. When she caught Ed masturbating in the bathtub at age 12, she poured hot water on him and told him that his genitalia was, quote, the curse of man. Vanessa, how likely is it that Augusta's behavior could have influenced Ed's later attitude toward women?
Very likely, Greg. Parents have a significant influence on how their children turn out. Mothers who create a stressful environment for their children put them at risk of developing their own emotional issues.
Turn right on Market Garden Lane, then turn left on Polo Club Boulevard.
A strong mother and child bond is necessary for the child's healthy emotional development. But Augusta and Ed's closeness was so intense that even her older son Henry questioned it.
Turn left on Polo Club Boulevard.
Ed has been quoted as calling her a saint, and he worshipped her, despite her cruelty. It's likely that he saw her this way as part of coping with her abusive tendencies. According to Gein's testimony in 1957, his mother greatly influenced his relationships with women, or rather, lack thereof.
Turn left on Man O' War Boulevard.
Gein told the district attorney, quote, I blame all my trouble on my mother. She should have made me a girl. I almost never went out with girls. I was afraid of them. All I could think of was my mother and how much I really loved her." End quote.
And it was his mother who introduced him to his first mutilated corpse, a moment that likely linked Augusta and death in his mind for the rest of his life.
Augusta and George Gein made a rule. Ed and Henry were forbidden to enter the farm's slaughterhouse. One day, 7-year-old Ed decided to defy his parents' wishes and sneak into the slaughterhouse. He saw a hog carcass hung upside down. Ed watched Augusta slice the animal's torso right down the center with a large, sharp blade. Young Ed observed as she proceeded to gut the pig. Ed witnessed his mother put the innards of the corpse into a metal tub, all while Augusta and George were covered in blood from head to toe. Young Ed felt something he didn't know how to define. Finally, Augusta noticed her trespassing son. She didn't mind his presence. Instead, she asked what he thought of the slaughter. Young Ed was confused. He didn't know exactly what he was feeling down below. Young Eddie had ejaculated for the first time as he watched this gruesome sight. Could Gein have been sexually excited by this disturbing moment? Was it an innocent, spontaneous arousal by a young boy entering puberty? Or maybe it was merely an Oedipal moment between mother and son? Vanessa, what do you think?
Well, certainly early childhood events can mold our sexual preferences as adults, including what turns someone on and off. For Gein, his view of sex as an adult could have been warped by this memory. His first moment of sexual pleasure has been forever linked to his mother and a bloody corpse.
Now that we've gotten to know Gein's family, we'll next examine how their tragic deaths affected him, and how his first suspected victim may have been his own brother.
Are you suffering from chronic spontaneous urticaria? Bexley Dermatology and